evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Douglas Conservation Commission meeting for Monday, January 6th, 2020. Happy New Year, everyone. We are opening the meeting at 7 p.m. First item on the agenda is a public hearing for 24 Shady Lane, Eric Maynard. Someone presenting for that. You can come under the spotlight if you'd like. Brand new light for you.
Oh, that is helpful.
Yeah, we all raved about it last week.
I do have the
Ad.
yeah.
It's broken. They go to cut.
Good.
Thank you. Oh, I've got one too. Oh, you have super big. Yeah, I'll take it out.
I think there's like all different sizes in there.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And then I also have revised plans.
Okay, let me just read this and I will take those from you. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for Eric Maynard on January 6, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center at 29 Depot Street for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed work is to be done at 24 Shady Lane and involves the construction of an addition and deck replacement on an existing single-family dwelling with associated earthwork, landscaping, and utilities within the buffer zone. And we have revised plans.
So there's 6 review sets and 2 full size here. Those were revised per comments I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody what?
How many people all?
Everyone's here.
Everyone showed up.
Thank you for coming.
Anybody want to, Steve, you need one of
We
these?
have the whole packet right here.
That's good.
Okay. I'm looking for the ANRAD.
Oh,
I gave him one.
okay. All right.
Can I have?
So from the original plan that you
Name
got,
and
oh,
address.
sorry, my name is Kristen Labria from Andrews Survey and Engineering. So from the original plan that you have, this was revised per Steve's comments on a stockpile location with erosion control around that, as well as a detail for the tree planting and a note on when the trees will be planted. Those were the.
Do you want to take us through? Because I don't think many of the board has looked at this.
Okay, so what it is there's an existing home now with a existing wood deck that's right to towards the reservoir. And what it is there's a proposed 9 by 28 addition to the left side of it, and then a new proposed deck going where the existing deck was. It's about 13 by 33. The stairs will remain sort of where they are, but there'll be new stairs, and an additional set will be on the other side. That's all within that 13 by 33. And then they are proposing to plant 6 trees, the 3 cluster river birches and 3 conifers located variously among the lot. This one you have previously, this property you have previously seen.
They had a violation last
Yes,
fall.
they had a violation and they came in, they worked with you through that, they did the fines, and then they're trying to do it they were unbeknownst to the process, and now that they know they're going through the process in the correct format.
So they did cut the trees, and so the commission requested, because they're gonna put the addition on, file an NOI, and for the deck that's here, that they're replacing the deck that's in the photo on the TV screen, they're replacing that. So with sonotubes.
Yep.
And then, so the foundation is kind of, really, the amount of disturbance is really up along the side of the, let's see if I have a shot of it.
The sonotube locations were also added
Along
to
this
this
side
list.
here.
You sent us these.
Right. So it's really, you got the digging from the, for the foundation. That's probably about 3
that'd be on the
feet,
left
which,
side.
there's a little bit of soil with that, just to make sure that's up on top. You're going to ZBA? Or do you have to go to ZBA?
No, we don't have to go to ZBA or Board of Health, it's just a addition.
And then, and then the replanting of the trees for all the trees they removed inadvertently last fall.
Shady Lane.
Shady Lane?
I was just gonna ask her if the Shady Lane come off the main street somewhere here?
Comes off of the causeway, right by the causeway.
The wall, where is that, Wallace Street
Oh, yeah.
is here and then it
Well, it's, all right.
comes
So,
out down here.
It's under the, on the other side of the
so
causeway.
right, yeah, so you have the causeway here. I don't know if you see up on the screen here. You go by the water slides, if you take a left at the intersection of Oak and Cedar at the water slides, before you get to the causeway, you take a right. See if I can zoom it in here.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the water slides. You come up here, instead of going straight to Home Depot or take a right up Oak, you take a left. And before you get to the causeway right here, there's a road right here, which is Shady Lane, dead end.
What's the space you have between the deck and the erosion control? I see you're like running over the well with that. We're gonna put it inside.
I mean, we can move it inside. I don't have a scale on me.
Okay. Maybe along that 25. I don't see why
Yeah, we
they would
could-
need that much room
Yeah, we can
for the
definitely-
sonotubes.
Yeah, we can push
Um,
that inside the
1 inch
25
equals
foot.
20. Yeah, so it looks like 10 feet, but
Yeah, we can push that inside the 25 foot.
and no machinery to be parked within the 100.
Yeah. I think you're doing the work, correct?
Yeah. As far as, what do you mean, machinery being parked?
Like overnight. We just don't want it by the water, just in case.
The 100 foot is pretty much, the gravel driveway is fully outside the 100.
No, I mean,
Sorry,
I'm gonna
name and address, please.
Dennis Shadler, D&D Home Improvements, I'm doing the
Okay,
work there.
great.
So, I mean, I have a mini excavator.
Yep.
All right, so where's the,
So this is 25.
all right, so
50,
that's the
100.
back. So, I mean, this is their driveway here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to come down this side of the house with the mini excavator for digging over here. I can't go this way because you got the septic and all the venting, stuff like that is all up in here. So this side of the house, I gotta go around. But, I mean, as far as parking the machine overnight, it'll be somewhere up here. It won't be down in this area.
Okay. Do you anticipate any stockpiling?
No, I mean,
If
what,
you're gonna be
they're 4-foot
running
frost
over it.
walls.
Okay.
There's not gonna be much excess.
Yeah, so we would prefer if it's out of the 100 if you can.
Where's the 100?
The
It's,
100's this orange line.
Oh, yeah, I
So
won't
we
even
put-
be
we
near
put a
that.
stockpile there just in case
Yeah.
it is needed.
but he needs to run that over with the machine.
So the 100 is from this orange line to this orange line?
This whole orange line is 100
To the
foot.
blue.
Until the blue, that's 100. So you can't park it. You can park it on the road.
Right.
But if you want to do any stockpile, you can move it back.
Yeah, I mean we can condition that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we can, that's easy. We can
But
revise
I'm
that plan
looking
and put the
at-
stockpile back here.
Yeah, the
Stockpile of
erosion
what?
control to
If
the,
you need any stockpile material.
No, I won't. I mean, we're gonna dig this foundation. You know, we typically put it on the outskirt, do the foundation, backfill it. I mean, if we need stone or something, that's just gonna come in, you know, in my dump truck and wheelbarrow it over, put it in, and
okay.
there won't be any stockpiling of anything.
Okay. We just don't want anything into the water
Yeah.
heading that direction.
If we
Fueling
needed stone,
shouldn't be
it would
done inside the 100-foot buffer either, correct?
The what?
Fueling of the equipment should not be done within the
Yeah,
100-foot
and
buffer.
Right.
that can all be put in the
Yeah.
standard conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
And that deck is, there's an existing deck there?
Yeah, right underneath here.
Underneath?
It's going the same spot, it's just getting a little bit wider.
Is it any closer to the water?
No, exact same size.
No, it's the same depth, just wider.
The deck's 13 feet off the house now, and that's what it's gonna be when I'm done.
Right, because you're extending it a little bit with the 9 feet
Yeah, it's getting extended.
away,
Yeah,
away from the water.
yeah.
Okay. So it's no closer than what the existing is.
Yeah. Hard to say.
Yeah, and we can move the UTV in, and I can move that stockpile to back here.
Yeah,
And that's
but-
just in case it's needed.
Yeah, since he's here, so
Yeah.
he knows what we were looking for. No erosion.
Yeah, and that's the erosion control prevents that as well.
So if you can move that, I see you have the existing well, if we can put it on the other side of the well, so toward, between the house.
Yeah, it's
and
gonna go on
well.
the inside of the 25-foot buffer.
Yep.
The 25-foot buffer is the pink line, so it's gonna go on the inside of that.
Okay, that would be great, cause the well is,
Yeah, the
See where
the
that-
well's outside the 25-foot buffer. Or the well's inside the 25-foot buffer, we're gonna move the erosion control to outside of the
Okay.
25-foot buffer.
or on the line is good.
Yeah,
If we have enough-
I'm just gonna put it right on that line,
Okay, yeah.
Where's the well?
right here. Where the erosion control barrier
The
is
view
now.
is one.
It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
underneath
Right
the
there.
thick line.
There's a
Yeah.
plan.
Right.
That thick dashed line is the
You
erosion
want it?
control barrier.
There's actually two in there. So you can pass that down.
Yeah, it's not
You guys want to
really
see a bigger,
pointed out.
bigger version?
Yeah, it's labeled existing well.
What is that?
Somewhere
It's
around-
labeled right there, existing well.
I can see
You
it
can't see it
now.
in the 11 by 17, but you can see it in the full size.
Okay, says existing deck, but it doesn't say existing well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
have to trust us
there's
on
a
it.
label
I'll
right
take-
there that
yeah,
says existing well.
See,
Like
it's kind of
here.
faint, but,
Yeah,
The line isn't.
I can't really see, yeah. Right,
Did I write on you?
No.
Oh.
so you're really no closer to the water.
Does it note on the plan what the trees are?
Yes,
Yep.
it notes
Yeah.
up on note 2.
Oh,
It notes
okay,
what
that was
is
good.
gonna be planted and that they should be planted in the spring following construction. If it's done in spring, it can be planted in spring.
Steve, anything to add?
Not really, I think they kind of, I mean, the deck is pretty simple with the sonotubes, and the addition is just a small frost wall is really the disturbance of the soil. So there's a little minimal disturbance with the soil, it's given the steep grade. I don't see many issues with
I have one question, just the trees, I understand that the tree placement is approximate, but you've got two of them that are like in the forest. And I would think they would wanna
I
be.
mean, it's not heavily for it's inside
Oh,
the
okay.
tree line. but-
Okay,
That's not my show is.
it. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear to the,
We shoot a edge of tree line just to show it on the plan of what's not fully cleared, but it's not it's not
Okay.
heavily forested.
That other one where it showed the stumps is a good one.
Yeah.
okay.
and I think the pines that are there, there's not a lot of shade.
Okay.
Board, any other questions?
So they're not putting them back where they removed the trees?
They're
No,
not,
they're keeping the stumps of the old trees.
So there's been a loss in coverage on the site?
Yes.
Can't we have them put them, instead of putting them in the woods, put them out in the open where,
I think they are out in the open.
let me see if I got a video.
Yeah, the,
The plan might be misleading.
I mean, I'm
'Cause
not
if you-
100% sure what went through with the violation, but whatever was agreed upon through the.
The tree
violation.
line-
we're just trying to push it away
Estimating.
wherever your tree line, the
Cause
existing
notice,
trees are.
this is the tree line, but
Yeah,
there's
this is-
stumps right there and right there, so I think the tree line's really probably further back.
yeah, but like that asterisk right there is way back into.
Yeah.
Here's the video here. Let's see. Right here.
Okay, so that's the stone wall.
That stone wall's the property line.
Okay. Right,
So there's,
that stone wall's over here.
oh, yeah, so I mean.
Oh,
that-
you might
but
be up here, yeah.
there's only a cluster of trees, it looks like, that's been,
Yeah,
remains down in this area here. It's been cleared to the wall in that area
Nice
there.
view,
yep.
What's that?
nice view.
Yeah, back side of the pond. Shallow.
We could,
So
I
the,
just
the,
wanna
the tree line
condition
is, the
that-
tree line's not really a tree line, it's the edge of the the trees that weren't touched.
Yeah.
So it's not thick, like as you can see, it's not thick. So they're trying to make it a little bit thicker back there.
Yep.
So what we have is those tree lines, is those trees that are kind of standing along in a
Nice, we
line.
had a couple
So
more.
they're trying to
yeah,
thicken them up.
Yeah.
Since they took
A lot out.
more down than they're replacing.
have you spaced these according to the planting rules, or You just kinda place
They're,
them?
they're so far apart, I didn't really
Okay.
look at the spacing.
So if we added a couple more,
I mean, that would be, the client would have to agree with that just because it's out of their pocket. I mean,
Right.
they're clusters of
Or-
trees, these aren't singular trees, they're clusters of trees.
okay.
So,
The river birch are, but not the conifers.
The
right?
conifers
now
are
the conifers, the river birch though are clustered.
So we could either orientate them in a little different position,
I'd still like to see more.
like 2 more clusters.
I mean,
Or
that, I
clusters.
mean, it would have been decided through when they went through with the violation if.
No, we were proposing the plantings when they were filing.
They were,
NOI.
we're gonna discuss it now. So,
I mean, if I look at the stumps, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I mean,
8,
some of
9.
those are
I
one
mean,
inch,
there's-
some of those are 1 inch diameter though, they're not all.
Okay,
I understand,
No, in the
but
video,
I'm looking at the
but-
calipers too. They're 20, 12, 22, 19, 8. There's a lot of trees removed to only be replaced by 6.
Well, what's the cluster of 3?
Yeah, probably 3 or 4.
So each
Cluster.
symbol.
Yeah, so three of them is about 9 to 12 trees, because they're clustered. So there'd be a cluster of 3 or 4, and then there's 3 single conifers, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12 minimum.
12 trees.
12 to 15, depending on how many are in the cluster. That's our, I'd be okay with adding one of each more, one more cluster and one
Yeah.
more single conifer.
I mean, as far as the cover and the, you know, how it's going to affect the resource area, so where the resource is the water, so they're not creating any bank shade, would just be kind of the replacement of existing trees.
I would argue that there was some bank shade that would come off of the ones that are cut close to the shore.
Sure.
Particularly, you can see that there is an 18-inch conifer there. Those are fairly tall.
So.
Also a runoff issue. I mean, if you get a higher rate of runoff off of bare ground
You've
and
got some slope there.
So you
non-tree
want them to be
ground.
planting these closer to the water?
So you want them inside the 25-foot? We can move one into this, inside the 25-foot, we just assumed that you probably wouldn't want us going in there.
I would say 2 more right at the edge of the 25. We can do 2
Conifers or
more.
cluster? I
There
could add one
were
more conifer
conifers
somewhere and
there.
one more cluster.
I think maybe just do 2 conifers.
2 more conifers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do that.
And I mean,
Then we can move the ones here closer and then spacing. I can look up the spacing, whatever it may be. We move the 2 that are back closer to here. We'll add 2 conifers down there.
yeah, I mean, you don't have to put them right there.
Yeah, the stumps are gonna remain, so we'll probably put them on the
Okay.
side.
Board, what do you think about that?
I'm in agreement with that.
I mean, that would accomplish more of what our concern was on the replacing like with like. What's the height that you're replacing those with? Do you have a range of height?
Should be on there detail. I don't, we can specify it, I mean, whatever,
caliber.
usually we do 3 inch to plant,
Yeah.
2 to 3 inches. Anything more than that's kind of difficult just to get there and plant.
Yeah. Okay. So the total was how many clusters?
It'd be 3 clusters and 5 conifers.
Yep.
Nice to put this.
And then 2 at the edge of the 25.
Yes.
You want it at the 25 or inside the 25? Did you want it down here?
Added. Yeah, I would say add like that here.
Okay.
We're gonna condition that. Okay, anybody on the board have any more comments? This is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns in regards to this hearing?
What property is this?
Name and address, please?
Looking for, Stermatory Road is.
No,
where I
it's
live.
24 Shady.
Okay.
Must be for the ANRAD.
Oh, okay. Okay, anybody else for 24 Shady Lane?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Motion's been made. Second, all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
What we're gonna have her is just submit the plan
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, that's fine. So you've got the 3 clusters, 5 conifers with, at the 25 foot, no refueling within the 100, no, parking equipment within the 100,
I'm gonna remove the stockpile and
Yeah.
remove the erosion control.
stockpiling out of the 100.
If you want to put those, maybe just, we'll put them in the conditions, but if you just add some general note, construction notes.
Yep.
You maybe
We
add
have
that,
those.
so contractors have more tendency
Yeah,
to just
yeah.
look at the plan, that they'll see that on the plan.
And
but-
then-
Yeah, if you wanna
Caliper.
send me the wording that you have in the conditions, I could put that directly onto the plan.
Just what we're talking about, just all equipment's outside the 100-foot buffer and the stockpile, move that,
Okay,
and no refueling in the buffer zone.
okay.
You also had to move the erosion control to the
erosion
25.
control's gonna
Yeah.
be moved inside.
Art, you wanna try it?
I'll make a motion to comply with the conditions as, as noted by the board. Something like that.
Which is
Well, do I want, read them all off?
3 clusters at 2 inch, 5 conifers at 25 feet, no refueling within the
Buffer
100,
zone.
or within the buffer zone, no parking within the 100, and removing the erosion controls to line up with the 25 foot.
Just to clarify, you don't want all 5 conifers at the 25.
No.
No,
Okay.
thank you. Correct, the 3 others,
Okay.
yes.
2 at the 25.
Yep.
Okay, motion's been made with conditions.
Second?
Second, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Rick, I will get you, should I send the plans to you, Steve?
What's
Should I
that?
send you the plans?
Yeah, just, send them to our office, Maria,
Okay.
myself.
Yeah, I'll have Linda bring in some copies and then,
Yeah, that'd be great.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank
Just tell
you.
her about the date, make sure the plan date matches the notice of intent, if you drop them off tomorrow.
Probably won't get them tomorrow, but
All right,
the notice of
I'll
intent.
talk to her tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, the order of conditions. You're gonna revise the plan date or keep it the same?
Usually we keep it the same and we just put a revision date.
Right, so we'll make sure that the order of conditions has that revision date that they're signing tonight.
So you want that in, okay, yeah.
The next item on the agenda is an RDA, public meeting, 251 Southwest Main Street. Brent DORVAL. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, will hold a public meeting for Brent DORVAL on January 6, 2020 at 7:15 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 251 Southwest Main Street. And the applicant is requesting permission to remove the existing deck and rebuild a sunroom and side decks on the same footprint and setbacks as the existing deck. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Name and address, please.
My name is Brent DORVAL, and my address is 251 Southwest Main Street in Douglas.
Thank you. And I just read what we were doing. Did you submit a plan?
We did.
Okay.
You didn't send that.
The plan and a detailed,
Yeah, read it.
write-up on, project write-up.
Nice, actually.
Let me know if you want another plan. Will you be having any machinery?
No,
Do
we
anything?
won't. There won't be
Okay.
any excavation per se. There will be some digging for the sonotubes that will be required for the deck and to hold up the sunroom itself.
Are you hand digging those?
We plan on hand digging them. It looks like there's probably some gravel underneath, so
Okay.
unfortunately, that's what we're gonna be doing.
Okay. So no machinery to be used.
Correct.
And you're not expanding on the existing footprint.
No, we're not.
And Steve, do you want to just walk us through the
Yeah,
pictures?
let's see the video here. That'll help out too. This is this is off Bad Luck Pond. This is the existing deck. You see, I'll walk down so you can kind of get a view of where the water is, so the proximity, the depth to the water. And they're staying within that foundation, that
Correct.
stone foundation there. So
Yes, we are.
I don't think they're coming any closer, right? You're not coming any closer.
Not any
right?
closer at all. It's, unfortunately, the wall itself is not deep enough to support the deck, so we're gonna have to put in sonotubes. But any sonotubes will be behind the deck towards the house itself and not towards the water at all.
So that, it's a request for determination, which is he knows he's within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, because he's putting a structure within 100 feet, but he's requesting that his work he's doing is not gonna adversely affect Bad Luck Pond. And so he's looking for a negative determination, that his project's gonna negatively impact it, which is not, it's not gonna impact it.
I don't believe so, no, sir.
And I agree.
And there's no need for erosion control.
Well, you've got a giant wall there.
Yeah. Everything's gonna be, so no dirt is to go on the other side of the wall.
That's correct.
Yeah, so there's no chance that any erosion could be happening towards the water.
No,
Okay.
no, we would not.
That's the plan with the two behind the wall.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
So all the work is related to the deck?
There'll be a deck, and there'll be, so the deck's gonna come off, and we'll build a sunroom in the middle, and then the flanking decks on either side, but they'll all be within
Within
the
the-
confines of the existing
Looks like
deck,
that.
which would be that right here.
So that's that 30 feet?
Pardon?
That's that 30 feet on the plan?
32 feet as I
32.
measure it, and then the water goes up and down, so I think that's a fair measurement.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it is.
Architect sketch.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
Do you have to close the public hearing still?
We don't have a public hearing.
Oh, great.
Public meeting.
I was gonna make a motion to approve, or to, issue a negative. Yeah, just with the condition that there's no machinery and that we're not. I think that's the only condition, is no
Getting
machinery.
closer to
I'm not
the,
getting any closer, right, so don't stockpile anything any closer.
Yes.
And the existing wall is not gonna be
It's gonna stay.
disturbed.
That's gonna stay right where it is.
that can be part of the condition also.
Yep.
Okay,
Second
I heard a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
So,
Now we go.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see, she didn't print out Art's letter, did she, to anyone?
I don't know.
Want me to go get a copy? Let's see in the file.
You want me to hold
Yeah,
that?
hold on for a couple of minutes. I'll be right back. You want a copy for, I'll just give a copy to you. I'll just make one. You want a copy for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, whilst we're waiting for Steve, if we can sign the two things that we just did.
Let's not miss any pages this time.
And
Yeah,
you
right.
don't wanna go back in the middle of the week and sign over there, Marie?
It's impossible.
I mean, not particularly.
She did put erosion control shall be placed prior to construction. No.
There's only one place in here?
Yeah.
Hold on a second, let's see something.
Oh, yeah.
You have pen?
Pardon?
You're all set.
That's a sharp
We do have it.
Yeah,
Guys
what-
have this letter?
Yeah.
Yes?
Oh.
Is that what Steve's going to make copies of?
Oh.
That's all right.
Yeah, we killed another half a tree.
Number 3 here is equivalent to a negative.
Yes.
Sounds like.
And I'm going to eliminate that erosion control blurb there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, am I supposed to be signing? I'm not paying attention here.
That's Shady Lane.
You sign these things?
Thank you.
This is Southwest Main.
Yep. Steve, we're all set.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
We all have copies.
Are you all have copies?
We got enough.
Oh,
We
okay.
got extra
Thank
stuff.
you.
So, is the consultant here?
I'll just make this.
Yeah.
Alright, next item on the agenda, 7:30, an ANRAD public hearing, 45 Oak Street, BWC Whitin Reservoir LLC, CO BLUEWAVE Solar.
It might be good to, because a lot of people got notified thinking this is something to do with the design of the solar farm, that what this process
Okay.
might be, what the actual ANRAD process is in relationship to other boards and filings that will probably come down the pike. So,
Okay, let me open the hearing
right.
first.
And maybe the consultant, I could do it, or the consultant can do it,
Okay.
or you can do it.
Okay, yeah, I think the consultant can do that. Alright, the Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation on January 6, 2020 at 7:30 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street for wetland resource areas regulated under the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed wetland boundaries are located within 45 Oak Street in Douglas, Massachusetts. Okay, green
Hi,
cards,
good evening.
please.
Andrew Gorman from Beals and Thomas, here representing BWC Whitin Reservoir LLC, and I'm joined this evening by Matt Carlin of BLUEWAVE. And the applicant is seeking an order of resource area delineations for the purpose of confirming where the wetlands lie on the subject property. So through our delineations, we have identified 6 resource areas. Starting from west to east, we have a bordering vegetated wetland here on the westerly side of the property. This is delineated as the A series. There's an intermittent stream associated with this BVW. This is the area situated behind the house. We have an isolated vegetated wetland that is regulated under the municipal bylaw. And then in the northeast corner, we have a bordering vegetated wetland with an intermittent stream flowing out of it. And then we also have an isolated vegetated wetland along the easterly boundary of the property. So the purpose tonight is we're seeking confirmation from the Conservation Commission as to where the wetlands lie on the property. I've had the opportunity to walk the site with Arthur Allen, the town's peer reviewer. We made a few changes based on Arthur Allen's commentary. Firstly, down here, this bordering vegetated wetland, we expanded down here in the southwest corner the A22 flag. That was to capture an area where there's imminent hydrology, some sensitive fern, meadowsweet. So the wetland boundary expanded in that area. And then Arthur Allen also called attention to an intermittent stream which flows out of the C-series wetland to the north. So in accordance with his recommendations, we flagged the bank of that on the westerly side. I'm happy to take any questions, comments from the commission.
Okay, sorry, we're gonna talk amongst ourselves first, but just to clarify, this is just identifying any resource areas that are subject to our jurisdiction in town or the state's jurisdiction. So there's nothing proposed at this time. It's just for wetland identification. I'm gonna take the board's comments first. So, Steve?
Yeah, so we went out, as you said, got notified, there's a bigger project that's gonna be proposed here. And typically, a large projects like this, instead of doing a lot of engineering, and having the engineering of a large project come in front of the commission with the resource areas, and they find out that the resource areas has changed, all those months of the engineering has to change. So a step that a lot of people do is they just flag the wetlands. That's it. And so that's all they did is flag all the resource areas on the site. We had a peer review, an outside independent consultant, Art Allen from Equitech, who's well known in the state, go out and do a peer review to identify and make any changes that he thought. And so if the commission approves the resources only, then the developer, which will have any subsequent filings, will know that the resource areas will not change. At least he'll know that. His project, whatever they come up with, they can hopefully stay outside the commission's jurisdiction. And if they do, we can try to minimize that, but at least they know where the resource areas are in relationship to filing with the Conservation Commission only. And if they are within the jurisdiction, they'll have to file because they know where those jurisdictions are, anything within 100 feet of the resource areas. So given the large acre of site, given it's up on top of the big hill, there's a lot of runoff, and a lot of drainage that comes off those fields. Some goes towards I guess that would be the east, some goes towards the west, and those have all been flagged. And so, based on the peer review, what's been out there, given the large amount of area on the site, there's really not a lot of resource areas, given how large of acres that there are, but the ones that are there, giving our consultant everything, hopefully, we think that they were delineated correctly.
Could
So-
you zoom in on the intermittent stream down here? So where's the source of that?
So there's actually an agricultural swale that extends through here along this farm road and then bends down here. And then it starts to pond when it hits the BVW, and then it just stops right here. That's been excavated at almost a 45-degree angle. As far as I can find back in the old aerial imagery, this dates back to like the 1930s, and there's like multifloral rows growing out of it all the way down to here.
Okay, and then is there an overflow creating the other isolated?
I think that certainly affects the vegetation over here, although I think the hydric soils in and of themselves are part of that shelf-like effect on the hill here.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Grace, were you gonna say something
No, I was gonna agree that that makes sense.
from the 30s?
Yeah, that sounds right.
How many acres is the parcel?
About 45 acres.
The drainage is this way?
It depends on which side of the hill.
Looks like-
Yeah, so there's the swale here, but there's got to be a lot of different sub-watersheds, as this is the high point, so water's going to be shedding in all kinds of directions. And this here, where the grade kind of bucks out into that shelf-like formation, is where we have the BVW forming, and then there's like an upland berm here, full of hay-scented fern, and then we have the IVW over here. It's really fascinating, the way it forms on the side of the hill.
Hard to see.
Yeah, the contour lines are really nice.
Can you move it so that I can see up?
There it is.
And what did Art say about that swale?
He said it was a non-jurisdictional feature. We walked it. We walked the site clockwise first, so I took him along here. We walked the swale, and then we actually came back around this way and looked at this side, and there was standing water.
But it
down
is
over here.
feeding that
Correct.
DVW.
Yep. It's an up gradient feature, though.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Do you have any comments?
I don't. I mean, our consultant went out, walked in with them, had a very limited amount of comments, giving, the amount of sites, and
Yeah.
so, which tends to believe that the initial delineation was probably done accurately. When did you delineate the?
The original delineation was October 9th and 10th of 2019.
So that was done during still the vegetation season.
To some extent, the
Some
ferns were
extent.
starting to die off. Yeah.
And then, given the time of year, Art's he's a wetland scientist, so he's more keen to look, because there's no vegetation on the trees right now. And I think it was a week or so ago, there was no snow on the ground.
The 24th.
It was 24th, so it was a warm day. I think the snow had melted. So, and he's more keen to looking at this during the winter delineation, which is a little more difficult than giving spring and summer.
Do you know anything about that septic cover? The concrete cover that you're labeling?
Other than that, it was an existing feature that was picked up by our surveyors. I don't. Happy to look into it.
Another comment, so the property, I'll bring it up on the screen, and I gave this information to them. So this property here, let me highlight it. This was Susan Mazinski's also at one time, so there was a wetland delineation that was done. There's a house that's existing in this field now.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually two delineations done on this parcel. So I gave them both those notice of intent and the AutoCAD files. One was done maybe 10, 15 years ago, and then when he went to put the house up, another one was done, and it was reviewed by Equitech also, and it changed a little bit, because I think there's a well, it might be a spring or a well on this property that bubbles up, and it feeds this wetland here, and I think that comes and it channels down across the street here. So I gave him that information, but you can kind of point out the buffer zone of that wet delineation is there, but because it's not their property, they don't show the flags. But I made them aware that there is actually a wetland on the left also.
Okay. Board, do you have any other questions? No? Mike? Mark?
So this is just in the early planning stages.
Yeah. Okay. Now, since this is a public hearing, I'll take comments from the audience. Yes, young lady in the back. Name and address, and please speak up.
Charlotte Hall, 78 Tory Road, we're Sutton, yes. We're downstream from this, so the entire wall that the water drains through is on our property. And the second place, can I walk up there?
Yeah, come on up.
So this,
I'm having trouble hearing you. One at a time, please.
well, I'm just her husband.
Just
wanna give my name. Okay.
Wait, or do
Okay.
you want to talk or do you want to hear?
No,
I
she'll
wanna
talk.
talk.
You
Okay.
can come over here though.
This part right here, I believe, is the trail that goes down these fields. And at one time it was dry. It was pulling all their dirt down. And because there was so much water coming this way, down this way, it was ripping our land apart.
Okay.
So I put 6 loads of 20 yards of chips right now there. And that's probably why that's wet,
Okay.
Way up
because
and
I'm
down.
backing
I
it
mean,
up.
It might be better if you want to point out what you're talking about up on the
So
screen.
we are,
There's Torrey, this is Torrey, I think this is Torrey Road.
yeah,
right
that's
here.
us right there. Okay. So we're 58 acres here.
Oh,
Name
you
and
are.
address, please.
70,
Fun.
Stephen Kroll, 78 Torrey Road.
Thank you.
Charlotte's my wife.
Yep.
So this is our property line, this is our property.
Steve, point so she could blow this up.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, actually, is that Maynard Pond? No, that's
No.
just wood.
That's Stevens.
Stevens.
That's Stevens.
Oh,
This is
okay, yeah.
Torrey Road
All right,
right here.
here's Torrey Road, so this is,
This is the ball.
He's not
so,
good at this.
yeah, okay, here's Torrey Road.
We
So-
need to go here.
So we are here,
Yes.
here, and I'm not sure
No.
exactly where we stop here.
I am, but that's
Okay,
beside the
okay.
point.
Zoom in a little.
This property slopes from Oak Street down to Torrey is a slope. It
Not
may not
all.
start exactly at Oak, but most of
Yeah.
it. All these back fields slope into us. There is a significant amount of water
Boy.
that sluices down to our property, even with the vegetation that's there. So our concerns are is that if we're eliminating a lot of the vegetation that's slowing it up, that water flow is gonna increase. This is our concerns, not. okay,
Right, so the purpose of this public hearing is to identify any wetlands resources
Okay, well, we are-
on this lot. So if you
Oh,
think
gotcha.
that there's an additional one, or you think
We
it's
kinda
bigger,
created this because we
Right.
backed it
so
up.
that is just a local one, a local jurisdictional, it's isolated, right? You said it was an
Yeah,
isolated?
And it's, yeah, so this is, down here, this is about, this is
Steve,
all
you're all-
wetlands here, within our property.
Steve, go.
What, this is Torrey
No,
Road?
I know that, but go back to the place that we want to show it to them,
Yeah, here,
right? Follow the northwest field.
Please.
yeah. So, okay, so we're not dealing obviously with whatever you have in here, but if you have,
Yes, we
what my
are.
office is saying is if you have wetlands here,
Yes,
they're not, that's caused because we've been fixing up this property. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this was not this was not sopping wet. It was just.
The
it was a
water
river
came through and
coming
took
down
over our
into
soil, our trees, our bushes.
So
Yes.
as we've done erosion control,
yeah.
it's backing up water here because this field has not been properly maintained in terms of slope. And you got stone wall here, old, and
you please
the way
zoom
the
in?
dirt's built up, it's gotten very deep and it's,
Yeah, so you can't really alter things to push water onto other people's property.
you
So
know,
they-
we just stopped the water from coming onto our property. We didn't push water
Where,
anywhere.
okay,
We just blocked it. We
Well,
slowed down the flow of
Well,
water.
regardless of it,
Yeah.
it's flagged as a wetland on
it's
Douglas' side.
now a wetland.
And so, right now, there's no project planned.
Right. But I
And
was
when that
just
project does get
pointing out
planned.
the water flow.
Right.
Yeah.
When a project does get planned, you'll get notified all over again, and there'll be a plan showing the project.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted you guys to know.
So
that.
right now, it's just showing, it's wet
Okay.
as
yeah.
of, December 24th.
Okay,
In
so,
October.
Probably not the right place as well for the hearing, but we are in the process of being certified as an organic farm. So we have serious concerns
Too much
about
information.
any
Yeah.
chemicals that are gonna get used to maintain this, keep the fungus and other stuff down,
Okay.
because we're downstream.
Right. At
And then
least
also
50%.
Stevens Pond is downstream, so any chemicals coming downstream are gonna end up in Stevens Pond.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else have any comments or questions? Yes, name and address, please.
Sure, Lisa Malzinski, 60 Oak Street. First of all, I'd like to know the commission's policy on wetlands delineation in the winter.
We do not have a policy.
So this
It was done in October.
was done in October, which is technically the dry season. And
Mm-hmm.
then your technical person has reviewed it December 24th.
Yep.
I just don't think that's the appropriate time to delineate wetlands, and that there's more there than meets the eye at this point.
Typically, if it's snow cover, and it is difficult to do it, that's why we hired a consultant, and that's why I brought that up early in the meeting, that it was winter time. It's a tough to
But a good chunk of December was covered in snow.
cover in snow when they did it, so. That is a, we could certainly bring, we didn't bring Art in.
Mm-hmm.
We can certainly bring him into the next meeting and have him go over his thoughts on how accurate and his confidence on the delineation.
Mm-hmm.
We just received, they finished it last week, I think we got the letter right last weekend, right before the meeting. So, that's always an option, and it would be prudent. I mean, I think sometimes if to make, given the status of the site, how large it is, some concerns there might be that, to make everyone comfortable, give him time to come into the meeting and explain his delineation.
That would make me feel better.
Thank you.
Okay, name and address, please.
Lori Hough, 41 Oak Street. Just to go off what Lisa was saying, we reside here, and during the spring season, we do get a great deal of moisture here, and along here, I think you said that the drainage stops, but it actually goes under our driveway and continues down the road. So I have to agree with Lisa on that.
Is there a culvert there or something?
Something like a breakout on that.
There's a culvert under this driveway right here.
What flag is that on the intermittent stream there?
Which one?
That one, like one of those, yeah.
That's B58. Yeah, 58.
It's on the next slide. Right, so this is the agricultural swale. The water comes down here,
All
which
right,
creates this.
anyone else
She's
have any?
noting that there's a culvert.
Mike
Name and
Swisher,
address?
46 Oak Street. You have the culvert marked out on that map?
We do not.
Okay, you need to get the culvert in there. Number two, that concrete cap, that's a well. And I think there's another well up there in the middle field, covered in the brush. I think that's another well. And like you said, on Jay's property, I know there was a well, from back in the day, the old hand dug wells. I think there's at least 2, maybe 3 wells in that property. So you're saying where's the water coming from? Coming from the wells,
Okay,
a lot of it. But that concrete cover,
is not a septic.
99.9% sure that's one of the old wells from in the lower field.
If I may, where was the second well that you were describing?
See all the brush up in that top field? That's why they don't mow it there, because the brush is there, so they
The
mow
top-
around it.
The
It's
top
right
of the
here.
swale.
No,
Down up here?
middle field. Here?
Down in there?
Yeah, you're going, Steve.
Right there?
I think that's it.
Oh, zoom in a little more.
That's why whenever they mow the fields, they go around it.
Oh, okay.
Not positive, but I'm pretty sure that's one of them up there. But just checking. I could be wrong on that one, but
I mean, a well in the upland, is that considered a non-jurisdictional feature?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
but you're saying that
have to
that
be
one in the
closed out.
lower field is not a septic cover, it's an old hand dug well?
The septics are over by Susan's house.
Okay.
I know that for a fact.
Yes. But it's probably an old amber one with stones in it.
And that water does flow all the way across. And as you know, Steve, that's why we had troubles at the house next door and had to do all that irrigation because of things that went on in the past. So there is a lot of water that flows across. A lot of water. So, just for your notes.
but the idea is good. It's better than houses.
Yep. Agree.
Okay, anyone else? Yes?
Shirley Mazinski, 60 Oak Street. Just to reinforce all this wetness, we had some logging done even on our property, going down towards Lake Nanchog. And the loggers had trouble getting in there because it was so wet. And it was all flowing from the fields.
What time of
Even in
year?
the fall.
That was this fall?
No, 2 years ago.
Two falls?
Yes.
Which property is that on the map?
It's
There you
not
go.
here. It's my property, the
Next one
Brzezinski
down. Where
Living
is
Trust.
This one?
That whole,
And, and even the people that were trying to do a septic system in Sutton at the campground, down below, there was so much water flowing down that hill that was even a problem.
the campground, they
Yeah,
had
we
to
were
come
in
before us.
front of us, yeah, with the swale, they had
Yeah.
they had that, they were cutting
So
the
it
trees in the swale.
It goes both ways. It goes into Sutton and it goes into, down into, well, Sutton again eventually, but our fields, our forester kept saying, I can't get in there without getting stuck, and I don't wanna muck up your property, because that was one of the stipulations we had to do it in the dry season. So just to
So it was through the field?
I'm sorry?
No,
This one?
yeah. It was through the field?
Yes.
They, okay.
But it was below our field, going down towards Lake Nanchog. He
Oh.
was trying below that field. My daughter's house is in that little piece,
It's right here.
my other daughter. But down below that, we had that area logged, and he was having so much trouble because it was so wet.
Oh, that's a
Towards
different
Quarry Road
device.
too.
Oh, just looking at vegetative.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, we'll take a second look at where that, how
Yeah.
that stream
Yeah,
just
that's what I would
stops.
suggest, if that is breaking out into the, roadway on the bottom there.
Where's that
This
go?
stream here.
Where's
This
that go?
stream stops at a 45-degree angle. It was originally dug out. All the way up here, starts the same way it stops. It stops there, ponds and infiltrates.
So that, is it, where, what do you mean it starts up?
It starts, there's
The water?
a swale here that extends along the gravel drive and then breaks out over here. And this is where it intersects with the BBW and starts the pond. And then there's a cut where the stream stops. So there's no further outlet down this way. It ponds and infiltrates.
You didn't have any pictures on this?
No.
Okay.
I'll go get some.
Yeah.
The report just came the other, so does it
The
bubble up?
31st.
Does it bubble up and?
I think, so this is below grade from the wetland here, so when we have the seasonal high water tables, as sometimes we do, one thing Art and I saw was standing water in here, again, below the wetland.
Yeah, but we get a 1.5 inch
Right.
rainstorm and everything's sheet flowing down into that area, into that,
Into this swale here?
or right where you have the 45.
Or just overland.
It's just gonna go bubble up, and what's it do when it's too
And
much
it looks like
capacity?
there's something right here too coming down, the elevation.
Where's all the water go? I mean, is it just
There's a lot of
sheet flowing after that,
A
or?
lot of steep overland flow. We have very steep slopes here until it starts to buck out into the shelf formation. There's no sort of like upstream channelization here, if that's what you're asking. I mean, I walked this entire site with the town's peer review consultant, and we didn't find any other streams other than the C-Series one up here.
Board, do you have any other questions? One more question?
One more.
Okay, name and address.
Mike Swicker, 46 Oak Street. Just so you guys get an idea. It's the old farm road, the 2-track that gets you up into the upper fields is all through here. And from years and years and years ago, it's cut down lower than this higher elevation, as you can see here. So the water comes down, sets here, goes into the culvert, and by easement, from my neighbor, they had to take the easement that goes across Bob's driveway, down here on the bottom, and then dig another trench and go all the way across Oak Street to go down to prevent it from going on the Pottles property. Because of the overflow back in the day, when all that trouble went on with Mr. Pottles. And that's all town easement and everything all cut through with the drainage going across.
I guess
That's where
the
it goes.
questions, and we'll bring Art in when we talk to it, is the overflow jurisdictional, or where's the resource area stop? Right where you have it marked on the
Because now
plan?
you've got a subject to flooding area, as well as this BVW area.
That's, I mean, as I'm listening, I mean, and thinking about something that's very similar, I would kind of wonder if in the spring, if this is in fact the limit of the delineated wetland, or if does this actually expand out further during the spring, so that then these boundaries would have to come out further. We've got a spot that just, it dries right
So I
up, and you wouldn't
think-
even know it was wetland during the summer, and then during the spring it's
Well, I mean, they look at,
wet.
the scientists, they look at things like
Soils,
hydric soils
soils
and
and-
vegetative
Plant
types,
and
but still, I.
Did you do some transects?
Yep, the transect forms were submitted with the ANRAD as
You know where you
required.
did them? Are they marked on the plan where you did them?
Where we did them, they should be referenced on the form in the
Right.
ANRAD,
Could
the
you-
adjacent wetland flag.
Could you put them on the plan where you
We can
did them?
certainly do that, yeah.
So a transect would be, you want to explain to them what a transect is?
So, under the state methodology for delineating and bordering vegetated wetland, the state requires a transect to be performed, which is a representative sample of the resource area boundary. One sample taken in the wetland side and one sample taken in the upland side. So we've provided the transect forms as part of the ANRAD submittal. That shows the type of vegetative cover, the soil matrix, and any hydrology that was noted at that specific point.
So usually if there's he delineates it, and usually when people wetland delineation based on soils and vegetation, so they're, and then the wetland scientists, they're all relatively pretty accurate among themselves usually, and so, but we get the peer review, and then when they look at it, if there's any disputes, sometimes they'll do a transect where they'll, if they want to narrow it down to within a couple of feet of where the flag should be, they go up within the wetland, upland, and they look at the soils. One's gonna be gravel, and one's gonna be like models. And then from there, they'll be able to pinpoint exactly where the wetland line starts when trying to get really critical. When it's
Based on soil type. My only concern is, it seems like this landscape has been really dynamic over the past decade. I mean, I don't know if the soils give you the true indication of the wetland, but I mean, you're still getting a lot of wetness than outside of what was traditionally wetland and maybe transitioning into wetland.
So I think our area of concern is between that wetland flag A19, the BF1, and if it expands towards the roadway, and kind of clarifying that flow and the feeding of that BVW down there.
Just for my own understanding, what would the commission be looking for clarification? Do you want some additional transects taken at this point? Do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't know if you can get them this
Even-
time of year, but maybe have Art come in and see if he can maybe, have him go out,
Yeah.
maybe take another look at that area that's down gradient, and see if there's anything else,
And what is exactly happening with that
any overflow.
bank, the little stream, for clarification on where it's going, what it's doing, what's the extent
I'm hearing the
of
neighbors
it.
saying that there's a lot of water that comes down off that area, and there's water going somewhere, so,
Into the street.
into the street. So what's happening between the street culvert and that? Have you looked in that area from the street, Oak Street to,
Yeah, I mean,
from that whole area, right where you were pointing?
yeah, so we've certainly augured in here, up, all the way up to this wetland boundary. And that's actually one of the changes that Art had. We had a chroma 3, which is a little bit on the upland side, but because there was some water and sensitive fern and meadowsweet, which are wetland plants, we agreed to move this out even though the soils were marginal.
That's a field, like I have an aerial, there's a field here too,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You don't kind of show it on your plan, but
where,
So this is where the wetland is up here.
so you have, so you
It's
have the
right down
little
there in the
fields, kind of marked. Why are you missing that field? You don't think it's a field, or like the bottom corner?
Oh, so we're missing a tree line
No,
there.
yeah, the
Okay,
one on
so
the
to
other
the
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Right
Right.
there, yeah.
That's kind of where our concern is. Well, where my concern is.
I can speak to that. That's okay.
Name and address, please.
Lori Hough, 41 Oak Street. That area that looks like a field on the aerial view is very grown up with plants the majority of the year, if not all of the year. I can only see through it now. And we just moved in June, so, Mike, is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah, no, that's correct.
I don't know if that's how you
Zoom in. Thank you. So it doesn't look like that, you're saying?
It doesn't look like that. You can't even see through that.
Okay.
That was,
Okay,
that was
never mind.
2014.
Never mind on that.
Yeah.
Scratch that note, Andrew.
Well, this is 2015.
Let's go fast.
Plants go fast, especially when there's a lot of water for them.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
No.
There's nothing there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all grown in.
Okay, so we don't need to address that.
But the commission would like transect forms in this area
Well,
to show.
all right, maybe go out there, maybe take a, well, give them
So
an
you,
email.
how many auguring
Take another
points
look
do
at
you
that,
have?
because you know, wetland's probably not gonna go up.
What do you mean auguring points?
I thought you said you did all throughout there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, generally auguring throughout the site as the delineation was being
Yeah, I'm
performed,
just
but
right there.
I don't think we have a transect form right there. And if
Okay.
the commission wants that, we can certainly perform that.
Yeah, I think that would be good to make sure. To be sure.
And what's going on with the hydrology of that area? Because it seems like everything coming off that hill is coming through that wetland and then overspilling. And
But we also need to go in line with what an ANRAD is.
This road
Not,
somehow ended
not
up being
drainage
connected.
and concerns like that.
Spring water, whatever, they'll change these.
No.
Okay.
Be straighter.
And then you
Oh,
wanna have
yes.
Art here at the next meeting
If this
to
somehow became, you know,
to explain his methodology
Single
for
wetlands.
wintertime
These boundaries.
delineation. Okay, board, anybody else have any questions? Okay, one more, oh, wait, 1 second, please. You can go, Mike.
This, you've referenced the swale here several times. Could you trace that out, please? Does it terminate down here?
It terminates right at B 58, so it goes along here and comes down into here.
so it's a non-jurisdictional swale
Yeah,
because it's up gradient from the resource area?
right, which was Art's conclusion,
But if it was down gradient,
which is, yeah, why this
it would,
finger
it
here
would
is.
be jurisdictional because it has a source. But you're saying it was never dug south of that area?
Correct, no further southeast. And when I do the transect forms, I can provide additional photos to the commission.
So that's true for intermittent streams.
Mm-hmm. What's that? Okay, sir, name and address,
Roy
please.
Swenson, 565 Northwest Main Street. Just a question for the board. Do you have jurisdiction over wells? Do
I don't believe so.
they concern you?
Board of Health,
Board of Health,
yes,
okay.
and DEP.
So, conservation, wetlands, wells wetlands kinda go together, water. Wouldn't it be important to put a well location on?
Not for delineate, this ANRAD, so this is a notice of delineation for the resource area.
Water comes out of those wells in the wet spring.
It shoots out of the wells?
It's
As a
wet
spring?
wet all around the well.
if the well is within the wetlands, then it would be covered jurisdictionally because it's in the wetland. If it's like a spring, like some of the shallow, if it was a shallow well, some of the wells like on the other side, I think,
A lot of the wells in this town fed off springs.
well, some of them, it was a shallow well that was actually maybe a spring.
Right.
And that well, and then on the other property, which I mentioned earlier, that created the wetland. So that well, they didn't, might not have marked the well, but the well was in the wetland, which is jurisdictional.
Right, but what we're saying is somebody went out and looked at this property and said that that wasn't a wetland.
So you're saying the one in the field, for instance?
The one that they like mow, that they
That
mow
they mow
around, that
around?
we're looking
This
at
area
before.
right here.
Yeah, that one up there.
So this is like a,
No, that wouldn't be jurisdictional.
yeah, there's like a 12-inch AP horizon and very bright mineral layer. It's not a wetland.
Okay.
But you looked at the vegetation also?
Correct, yeah.
And determined that. So we don't do just soils, we do vegetation and soils.
Okay.
So I understand what you're saying, if it was a hand dug well, and there's a wetland developing around it, it has to meet the criteria of a wetland.
They're all hand dug wells up there, and one is a stone drop spring. So it depends what time of year you view this.
Right. It's just, we distinguish between a piece of land that is wet and a wetland resource area. So in a wetland resource area, we're looking for a particular species that would live in a wetland, and we don't have
What
that.
you're saying, it's not wet enough, it's not wet enough, time-wise.
It may not be
doesn't
big
stay-
enough or wet enough.
Let's say it doesn't stay wet enough to grow those types of plants.
Right.
Correct.
So it's
Then it's not
wet
considered a
dry
wetland.
cycle.
Right, no, agreed that it is wet, and probably is wet a lot of the year, but it's not a wetland resource.
Do you think that if it wasn't mowed, there may be other wet?
So I
Plants.
think that the applicant had already looked at the horizons and the vegetation around that one in the field. Maybe you could take a look at the rest of them.
The rest of the fields?
The rest, yeah,
Or-
well, the rest of the wells.
Okay, yeah.
Just to clarify, you know, that there's not wetland indicator plants and modeling in the soils around those areas. If you're saying that all of them are just springs.
They're not all springs, no.
There was one that's a stone that's built on a spring.
One was built on a spring.
Okay.
yeah.
So would the
Okay.
commission like information as to the soils over here?
Yeah,
If they
and
had-
the other ones too.
So. we
That
have right
one.
here,
Yep.
and then was there, the other one's off-site, right?
I thought it was at the top of the swale.
The one, there's one in
That's on
Jay's
land.
property.
The other one's on Jay's.
Oh, okay,
it
so
has
two.
nothing to-
Okay.
It's just the two.
Yeah.
That, yeah, that we know of.
Just-
Yeah, it's just two. Let's go back.
See? Okay, board. Anyone else in the audience? Comments on this? Okay. All right. Do you think you can get all the information for the next meeting?
Yep, and the next meeting is in February?
Yes.
3rd.
I will entertain a
So
motion.
Motion to close the public hearing?
We're gonna continue to the February 3rd, but I'll entertain that.
All right.
You wanna
Motion to
try?
continue to February 20, till February 3rd?
Yep, at
7:30.
7:30. Okay, motion been made. Second. Second by, all right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Old new business, 144 Southeast Main Street. Update filed, a notice of intent this morning for 2-3 meeting. Anybody have a chance to look at minutes?
I looked-
11:04
I
and
looked at the
12:16?
11:4.
We
Okay.
also have,
We're about halfway through the other four.
All right, let's
Number
hold
3.
on that, and we'll do Paul Stanhope, 220 Perry Street.
Yeah, right here.
Request for certificate of compliance.
What do I need to do? Help me.
Just wanted to
How did we call
clue
it
the
Friday
board
night?
in
Yeah,
and
yeah,
let us know what's happening.
Well, I'm selling my house, actually, I'm supposed to move out on the 21st, and the new guy's moving in on the 21st, so, and I got a call from the lawyer 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, saying that they found that this order of conditions for, I guess, for my septic, was never brought down and finished off by the Douglas Development Group. So I still have this saying that my septic is no good. This is from 20 years ago. It's not, you know.
That you still have an order that hasn't been released.
And, you know, I spoke with my lawyer, and they said it was the responsibility of them. I've never seen this piece of paper before. And, you know, so when people talk about purchase and sale things, I mean, this is all through whatever lawyer was done at the time. So, I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, so that was from our board
Yeah.
back a long time ago when I was young. So we have an as-built plan on the table. It was completed in when? Give me a date.
99.
1999, approximately.
November.
So you're pretty much just here to release that very, very old order.
Please.
Steve has some pictures. Everything looks really good, well established, no erosion.
No.
Very
Yeah, so this is-
stable,
yeah,
according to the plan.
this- Most of the stuff is not, all the wetlands along the right-hand side.
It's in front of the house?
What, the septic?
So the street is down here, Cherry
right
Street.
here.
Yeah, okay.
So you're coming down, and then the wetlands on the right side, and then the rest of the activity is on the left.
The septic is right on the left.
Right there on the left, yeah.
That's the septic.
They didn't really clear much of the back of the house.
Go away.
Because
that's, you know,
Okay, we're,
20
We don't
years.
want you to leave that.
Oh my God, 20 years down a half mile down a dirt road with a, you know, 150, 200 foot driveway. It's just,
We're getting too old.
I can't do it anymore.
We do 2 snow blowers now, so.
I'm entitled to
Yeah.
some lawyers
We're
pick up on
tired.
it for the banks, and if they didn't
so,
realize
board,
that
do we have any
20 years
questions
it's
on
been sitting
this?
there, they would have done it 15 years ago.
No.
No,
I'll entertain a motion.
Because I
Help
mean,
these
if
guys
this,
move.
this,
Let
this
these
is
guys
great.
off the hook.
So I mean, the septic system itself, no, I mean, that's all inspected, taken care of.
That's
Board of
not-
Health.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
regular-
he was,
regular
yeah, he's
Title V
misspoke
stuff,
when
right?
he was saying
Title
about
V,
the,
He called me late Friday night. And so I came in and checked my messages, I came out Saturday.
Yeah.
You were in the bank, so I said, I'll come out Saturday before it rains. Took my videos, went out there, looked at it, and then I called the Board of Health, I gave Maria a message, see if there was an as-built, and so they actually did an as-built
Good,
years ago
that's
for the
fine.
septic, that's what that is, so.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with the septic.
No, I'm just, I'm
But I
not
mean,
happy
that's-
with this gentleman but.
Yeah,
I told you not to worry.
Yes, sir?
I've been a nervous wreck, so.
I know.
I'm just saying, I make a
We
motion,
haven't
we
even
remove the
eaten today.
conditions from 220 Perry Street,
And
from
Or those-
1999.
no.
issue a certificate of compliance.
And issue a certificate of
Compliance
compliance as
that
well.
they need.
Was that
Okay.
somebody else?
Motion been made and seconded and thirded. Mike second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So, that's typed up. Sign it tonight, come see Marie tomorrow. They're not on here, right?
And I
No,
can bring it to
yeah.
my lawyer and we'll be done.
You gotta
No, they're
record it
not.
at the registry of deeds.
Here.
Where's that? I don't know.
We
Where's
can-
that?
They'll record it at the registry.
Oh,
When you
the
go to
lawyer will do
close,
that.
yeah, when you go to close.
Okay, okay.
Or beforehand, whatever, yeah.
But I just can bring it to the lawyer tomorrow. You said, where would I pick it up tomorrow?
Yep.
Yeah.
At the,
Yeah, town hall is open till 6, so
At what time do they open in the morning?
8:30.
So it'll be ready early in the morning?
Ask Maria in the building department.
Okay.
call before you come.
Yeah, all right. Well, if not, you can come down and pick it up. One of us will look at it. I just don't want anything. I'll just let her know that it's okay.
All right.
That's really what's more important.
You're good, you're good to go.
All right, thank you so much.
Good luck. No problem.
Now I can retire.
Do we want to do minutes tonight or next meeting?
Okay.
Well, the 11.5, we might be able to do, but we
Have a
just
good
seen
night.
the 12, we just seen the 12/16
Yeah.
for the first time tonight, at least.
Right.
Okay, so let's hold on the 12/16.
Let's give it an 11-4.
11.4, there was the one that, we talked about it briefly last time, and there was an issue with, we weren't sure about the guy's name on the
Yeah.
discussion and deliberation.
I emailed that to the minute taker.
Okay, still a question mark.
Well, it's Scott, but no, but I emailed,
Oh, it
she
is
didn't.
Scott?
We didn't get she didn't correct it.
Is that-
Mary,
It's Goddard listed here.
I got a
So-
question mark
Oh,
beside
yeah,
it.
is that, those
I
are
do too.
revised minutes?
And this is the revised one, came the same
Oh,
as,
actually, it doesn't say revised.
no, but we got this one last time, and we got the same thing again, I think is what.
Oh,
Yeah, we
I-
usually say revised
Yeah.
draft up here.
I emailed that to,
I don't think anybody touched it, is what I'm saying.
oh, she didn't, yeah. Let me talk to Maria about it. Cause, I did look it up.
And the other thing was on
It's-
this one, we had discussed number 5.
We had said we would continue it, and the minutes don't say that it was continued. It leaves off with Mr. Andrews and Ms. Johnson will discuss options.
Right, and nothing, we never heard any more. These were the folks that were.
Oh, I
at the-
remember.
sump
The hoses.
pump. The sump pump was too deep, and she wants to sell the house and get out from under it. I understand all that, but we had talked about dry wells and all kinds of.
What? She called me the other day.
Oh, okay.
Last week, saying she had a fix, and I said, oh, really?
What's that?
Well, she said she was gonna unhook the hose and just put it under the deck. I'm like, oh, well, is that approved by the engineer? Well, I talked to him, so I said, well, whatever you come up with, I need a letter from the engineer and come back to the commission so they can approve whatever you're gonna do.
Okay, yes, it was.
And so,
The only,
she said,
We said in
oh,
the-
okay.
We said in the minutes, though, that the issue with the sump pump is resolved.
It's not, so they're supposed to
It's
come
not
back.
resolved.
It's not resolved.
It's no longer pumping. I mean, that's what we said in there.
Yeah, it was fixed by May. There is no water coming out of it.
however, keep reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Zisk feels the hoses should be removed and a dry well installed. The discussion is
You feel
held.
that way?
I do.
Oh.
I do too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
you asked
Well,
me, and that's
yeah,
that
I
was
think the
my opinion.
elevation of the new was set too low. It's in the
The
groundwater.
bottom line is, we said we were continuing it, and the minutes don't note.
So
that it was
let's
continued.
Right.
put it back on the discussion.
Right.
Let's try to get her.
Can you just, she's listening now, can you just state the time on that? What is it?
Number 5,
Number 5 on
11,
It's a re-
4, 19.
11/4.
Yeah.
She can, the lady who's, does the minutes is taking it from the.
Right, no,
the
yeah.
recording.
yeah.
Mary, right?
Maria.
All right,
But I'll let Maria know also.
Anyway, those are the only 2 things I had with November 4th. So I think we got the same addition
Yes.
back,
We did.
and we've still got no resolve to number 5.
I agree.
That's all.
I'll ask Maria tomorrow.
What we got in the packet
Typically, it
tonight
says
is the same piece of paper
I
we
think
got
so.
a month ago. or
That we
whatever
looked at a month
last
ago,
time.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just got 12/16 for the first time, so I
Okay.
hadn't even looked at
Alright.
it.
Yeah, nobody's looked at
Yeah,
that
we
one.
typically have revised on the top above draft.
Yeah.
And in the RDA,
Yes.
can you remove that erosion control to be installed before construction? There was a condition
Oh,
that
that was
written.
typical, yeah.
You want me to take it out for you?
Yeah, we'll just scratch it out. Sign and put a signature.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Well, you can put, well, and then I'll have Maria just change that one sheet.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay, board, anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. Just
Sure.
for my own education. Back to 45 Oak Street. It's
We're in a public hearing, so if you have a general question for your
general
knowledge,
question for my knowledge.
not related to 45 Oak Street.
It could happen anywhere.
Okay.
It sounds to me like in this case and possibly some future cases, someone in another town has taken erosion control measures on their property, but it's affected and maybe created a wetland situation in Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize the Sutton-Douglas line is right where we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
Okay, maybe I misread it.
Well, it's
Tough
kind
ski,
of-
I
well,
think,
it's-
tough
No,
luck.
I'm just saying
Well,
generally speaking.
you have to be more general.
Okay.
So in the event that
In the
there were
event-
water,
Yes, if someone took erosion control measures in another town
Mm-hmm.
and it created a wetland situation in Douglas,
Mm-hmm.
how does the commission go about adjudicating whatever the
I talked to the agent in Sutton. I might talk to him anyways
Yeah.
about what they did.
Yeah.
Doing work there.
Very general.
Yeah.
Or anyone.
But you,
Yeah,
but
generally.
you follow on, there could be cross-jurisdictional disputes and.
Right. I think in that case, you would notify the agents of the town. You would have to probably get an expert to come in, and then the situation would have to be remedied or restored to back to the way that it was without affecting the water flow. We
So-
don't have very strong rules, but in other towns, you cannot have one drop of water go off of your property.
Yeah, so if you had let me bring up the map. This is
A general map.
the general map, King's Campground. We'll look at King's
It's a
Campground.
very general map.
Because we did King's
It's a
Campground
good question, it's a
before.
great question. We'll look at King's Campground.
We got we got 3 or 4 different towns here, right?
Well, it doesn't even have to be a town, it could be an adjacent property.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Well, you
King's-
go to court.
So we have King's Campground, right?
Well, that's the last case
Yeah,
scenario,
hopefully
but
not.
they could inadvertently decrease the value of your property and create
But
some
what if the
undue
conservation
harm.
agent in one town, or in one town says one thing, and Steve says something else?
Well, we
DEP
usually-
comes
the
in.
DEP,
The
but-
state
but-
gets involved?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we had King's
Appeals to the
Campground,
state.
King's Campground, at one time, about 15 years ago, they got rid of the campground and put a subdivision in
There's
there.
28
Dual jurisdiction, file in both towns. And so even if it was just filed in one town, when this problem happened here, this Sutton agent emails me,
Contacted you.
contacted me about, he saw some potential violations, that's why we brought him in, and vice versa. And so we usually
Remember
have
the
a good-
trees and the trenching and.
he pointed that out because he was here looking, signing off on work that was done in the
The
Sutton side,
septic.
but he saw it was affecting us and vice versa.
Okay.
But jurisdictionally, if I saw something that was happening on their side, they have jurisdiction, but if it's affecting our side, we can give them a violation,
Well, we can.
I believe, because
Okay.
it's actually affecting stuff on our
And
side.
it sounds like from what you're saying, that if we can't resolve the thing, that the state would act as an umpire type of thing, or an arbitrator, or an arbiter, to decide
Right.
the-
But it sounds like
before
they're-
you go to court.
Right. But we'll bring it, but they're, but if they're creating wetlands,
Well, I'm hoping this doesn't become
Right.
an issue. I'm just, as I'm listening to everybody, I'm thinking, geez, this could happen.
Yeah,
right.
okay. Anyone else have any
Yes, I have a
questions?
quickie, she mentioned this.
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
This, the third one there was an ANRAD.
Mm-hmm.
What is expected of us, and how do we properly respond to an ANRAD? I mean, he put up there and delineated the wetlands on the
Right.
property. Now, do we have to give a vote of approval to his
Correct.
assessment?
Yeah, so it's an order.
Right.
That it's just like the notice of intent, so they have a DEP number. But they didn't have comments. Did the DEP have comments on the number? And
I did
there's a
see
process
that.
of going through and looking at the resource areas, the information they gave. We actually, typically on projects like this, large projects, so it kind of takes the commission out of it. that
Yeah, I would.
We hired an outside consultant that went
Yeah, I
out, goes out
would be
and.
more general, cause
Right.
we have an open public hearing, so I'm just,
Right.
no comments. So,
So
thank you.
I'll email everyone the process for reviewing an ANRAD.
I think
Alright.
that would be
From
nice.
the,
Yeah, that'd
from
be
the
helpful.
Mass MACC.
Cause we also have to stay within the scope of what our responsibilities are,
Right.
reviewing an ANRAD,
So I'll.
and nothing more.
I'll
We don't
cut-
go
I'll-
outside of what we're supposed to do,
I'll
Right.
clip-
what the purpose of
I'll
that
clip
is.
the chapters of.
Yeah.
of
Okay.
ANRAD delineation.
Yep.
I won't get into the, how to, not the BVW, not the DEP manual on how to delineate resource areas,
Right,
but
how
the process
we-
of when the commission gets an ORAD,
Yes.
what's the administrative process for overseeing that and approving it?
Yep.
Cool. Alright, anyone else have anything
Good questions.
unanticipated
Great question.
topics? No? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
A second.
Motion made, second, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
What?
Or